bombshells this week, starting with the biggest one, end of an era. Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, and the New England Patriots, I guess, mutually somewhat agree to part ways. I want to go to you. What are your thoughts on this?
Hard,
listen, right?
Yeah, it is. I think Bill probably wanted to stay, right? So it's surprising that it actually happened.
I know,
but to
you
some
heard
degree,
about it, but to actually,
to some degree, it is also overdue. There's some change in New England. Well,
let me ask you this first, before you elaborate on. Do you think it was kind of one of these meetings? Hey, Bill, we'd like to keep you on, but there's some change going to have to be made. We can't necessarily have you in charge of like all the drafting and team.
No.
Like, how do you know? Okay.
No, I think it was a situation that, listen, Kraft is actually one of the owners that like reads the tea leaves, very modern, pays attention to where the league is going. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think he wanted to get younger, right? Get a different mentality in there. Listen, Bill Belichick, he's the greatest. 6 Super Bowls. He's brilliant from a football mind standpoint.
Arguably the best defensive mind to ever coach football.
Exactly. Yeah. But, sometimes when you're in one place for too long, you rest a little bit on your lures and you rest a little bit on your history versus a young mind is hungry, is aggressive, right? Willing to take a chance, willing to work and cooperate with others a little bit more. Bill started to, from afar, it looks to see like he became a little too rigid. He was too focused on a particular type of Patriot player rather than if you're an amazing coach, right? Okay, here's the difference with like Nick Saban. Whoever you are, elite talent, average talent, Nick is going to take you to another level. Right? I think Bill did that defensively, right? But where's the offense?
Yeah.
Right? So that's my issue that went on with Bill, and I think why Mr. Kraft wanted to part ways and bring in some younger talent. Bill also was rigid in his coaching staff. He only wanted coaches that he knew. That's why Josh McDaniel was there so long. They're talking about maybe Bill and Josh will get back together again.
Wherever Bill ends up.
Because
McDaniels is never getting a head coaching job again.
No, ever.
It's just not happening.
Ever.
I'm not trying to disrespect the guy, but I'm sorry, bro. You've tried twice. It's over.
Listen, the thing about coaching and being a head coach, you have to be a leader of men. 100%. Right? And football is definitely a merit system.
Yeah.
And so players respect the coaches that are going to make them better, take them to another level, make them, get more money, more glory, whatever the case is. But when you're the leader and you men don't believe you, and it's not just like an alpha thing, it's more just of a true leadership thing, and it just seems from afar he doesn't have it. But he is a very good offensive mind.
And
I think
defensive.
No, I'm talking about Josh McDaniels.
Oh, McDaniels. Right? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Josh with Bill is a great mix.
My bad.
So, but I would love to see, a Bill Belichick with like an Eric Bieniemy, with a Kellen Moore, right? So I think that's what the Patriots were looking for, some younger, more talented offensive mind, and I don't think Bill wanted to go in that direction. Listen, if Bill ups and goes to Washington, goes to San Diego or something like that, and then he brings Josh back and they have success, that's great, that's amazing. But could Bill be even better with a younger, more talented offensive mind? And that's what I think that's where he was just rigid and wouldn't want to change. But listen, hats off, greatest coach, amazing defensive mind. But ultimately, sometimes you're in a place for too long and you need to reset. And he needs to get hungry again. He needs to build his name. Now there's conversation, right? Was it Bill or was it Brady? Well, Brady got his chip, right? We know how great he was. Bill now has the opportunity to pick wherever he wants to go. And if he wins another chip, right, listen, he doesn't have to validate his career, but he'll validate the debate that it wasn't only Tom, right? And, because Bill helped make Tom. Right? But Tom went out and won one without him. If Bill could go out and win 1 or 2 without Tom, now all of a sudden, right, Bill's legacy isn't only Tom. Right? So I think that's his mission.
I think some people forget too sometimes. Now, this is going way further back, and he wasn't technically the head coach. But Bill Belichick was the lead defensive coordinator and architect of 2 Super Bowls in the 80s with the Giants, too, as well.
But when he was a head coach with the Browns, it was a disaster. When you look at his record.
Although they did make the playoffs with him the first year there.
When you look at his overall record without Tom Brady, it isn't good.
It doesn't look great.
It isn't good, right?
Yeah,
so, that, and listen, Bill is a historian, right? He's about 14, 15 games from being the all-time leader, passing down.
He wants that.
He wants that. Right? But you can't tell me he hasn't heard the noise. Right? The whole Tom and Bill debate. And so for him to go out and win one more, he'll shut everyone up. Right? That not that he's the greatest, but that it wasn't Tom, that it was Bill, right? Yeah. To validate the Patriot way, the Belichick way, however you want to say it, that Bill needs to go out and do that.
Okay. So you hit on a few different points. I want to kind of back up a little bit. And I want to, first of all, it's just like Saban losing Bama, it's still so weird. Like, in the NFL, the coaches move around all the time. Mm-hmm. It is a business and it is a results-oriented business. But it just goes to show you, even someone like Bill Belichick, a couple of tough years, and it's just like, okay. But I think it's more than that, too. You kind of alluded to the NFL is changing. Bill Belichick, there's no question that he can still coach defense at an extremely high level. I mean, he's losing games in which the opposing team scores 10 and 13 points, and he's losing those games. So, I mean, that's most people would kill for a D coordinator that's only giving up 10 points, 13 points in some games. I liken Bill Belichick, and I'm going to kind of go a little bit Colin Cowherd / Shannon Sharpe here. I'm going to try to make an analogy. Bill Belichick was kind of like there was an owner of a restaurant.
Okay.
And Bill Belichick was kind of like the head chef. And was cooking all the meals, doing a fantastic job. The problem is that the customers started to want a new meal, and Bill Belichick could only cook one style of meal, okay? Well, if the customers keep wanting this new variety of meal, and all of a sudden you're just not giving them what they want, service and whatnot goes down. You're not getting that same type of entertainment or buy-in into the restaurant. And the owner sits there and he goes, well, guess what? You're fantastic at making steak and potatoes, but guess what? They want some chicken. They want some salmon. They want a little bit of variety. And I know it's not the perfect analogy. These guys do this all the time. But my point is with him is, and this is why I talked about him coaching defense at the highest level. He coaches defense still at the highest level, but this is turning into and shaping into an offensive league right now. Now, don't get me wrong. Your defenses still need to be able to perform and do things in big moments, okay? But you got to be able to address that offensive side of the ball. And the reason that I talk about the whole control thing and why I wonder how the meeting with him and Kraft went down is I think Kraft, this is just my opinion. Don't know if it's true, can't confirm it through any sources. I think Kraft had to sit there, give him at least the benefit of the doubt for all the surface that he had given prior and say, we're willing to keep you on. Mm-hmm. But you have to let go of some of the control in terms of the GM and the drafting. You just talked about it. The defense is one thing. Coaches, develops all these. It could be high-level talent or it could be like a 3-star athlete that he turns into a 5-star performer in his defense. But there's no ifs, ands, or buts around the fact that he has not been able to figure out drafting on the offensive side of the ball, whether it be receivers, weapons to put around his quarterback since Tom Brady left. My question, I guess, or more my idea is whether that conversation, because I personally think that's probably how the conversation, and Bill was like, respectfully, no. If I'm going to be in an organization of the head coach, I want full control of personnel or whatnot. He's leaving now. I'm sure he's going to get a ton of opportunities and offers because I think most teams would kill to have a Bill Belichick. I'll kind of ping pong this back to you. But my question would be, will Bill Belichick, wherever he goes, get kind of the reins and full control like he did in New England?
No. Right? So to give you an analogy, right? And stick with me here.
See if you can do better than me here, right? I was partway through and then I just couldn't figure out how to finish it.
I got you. So the way I look at it is, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, right? They're in a marriage, right? And the sex is great. Sex is amazing.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, stick with me here.
He went from MILF last week and I was talking about the sex.
Right? Right. The sex is great, right? And, to the world, it's the perfect family, right? You got 2 kids, but the person is miserable, right? And you live with them. Now, all of a sudden, right? But guess what? You go to work every day, right? 8 hours, 10 hours. The actual time that you spend with them isn't that much. But then all of a sudden, COVID hits and you're with them 24/7. 24/7. Oh. So now all of a sudden, right, you're like, you know what? I need to change. It's been 25 years and I realize you're not like, you're not that nice of a person. I can't be around you that much because, yes, this one thing is good and it's brought me pleasure for so long.
The sex
but
being
you know
the
what?
defense, I assume.
Right?
Yeah. We got Shawnee cracking up back here in the background.
But
man.
listen. But it's time for a change because there's more to life, right? And when we grow up, right, we realize that life and relationships aren't just about one thing.
That's fair.
Right? And so to me, Robert Kraft realized, you know what? Right? I need to go be a little bit happier. I need to build my organization, right, in a way that I'm receiving more benefits, right, from an offensive, a defensive, a special team standpoint.
Move with the times.
For 24 years, you've given me 6 Super Bowls, and I've given you all the reins. I trust everything you do, and even though I might be miserable some days, right, this one thing was amazing, and I've reached super heights and pleasures. But
wow,
it's time to move on.
I might have to take a shower after this segment. Jiminy
All
crickets.
good things come to an end. So,
Sure.
but listen, right? But a part of it is, look, when you put in 24 years with someone, sometimes, just the time's up. Not everything is meant forever. And so you give it the respect. Yeah, 24 years, but guess what? The both of you have matured, you've moved on, right? And now you value things differently.
Sure.
Right? Now, Bill can go to a new place, right? He has his song and dance. Maybe he's matured a little bit. Maybe he can find a GM that he could work with and they could buy the groceries and he can cook the meal, whatever the case is. Hopefully Bill has evolved, but what I feel what will happen from this is Bill's hunger will come back. And I don't mean hunger like he lost it, but he'll remember what it was to start over, right? To build something new, right? And versus, if he goes to San Diego, if he goes to Washington, if he goes to the Eagles, right? We'll talk about that later.
All righty.
If he goes anywhere like that, all of a sudden now, well, you've done nothing here. Those 6 Super Bowls in New England doesn't mean anything, right, in this organization. So that's the hunger that might come back, right, in starting something new.
So it's interesting because
Did that analogy make
that
sense?
analogy was
right?
that was something. That was something. Yeah, I did not see that one coming. But listen, I will
stick
say
with me,
you
right?
did a good job of circling it all back around. Boy, I can't wait to see the commentary on that one. That's going to be good. So it's a business, and I get it. You're saying it won't count. But the teams that are going looking, I think he's going to be the most sought after head coach, I think, in the free agent market, if you want to call it that, for coaches. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would think
to
that
stick with the analogy, I don't think he's the prettiest girl at the dance. Right? What about a Jim Harbaugh?
You can't just say, listen, Jim Harbaugh
about
is
a Mike
definitely
Vrabel?
one too as well. If you were a hiring team right now, though, you think that the teams that are all in the hunt for a head coach, you don't think Bill Belichick is going to be the first call?
I'll say, no, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. And now, it depends on the team.
Hard
Now,
to argue with that
all right,
resume.
Well, guess what? I'm going to throw something out there.
Go ahead.
If the Eagles lose, go get Bill Belichick.
Whoa.
Go get Bill Belichick. If the Eagles lose, get Bill Belichick. And if I'm a Cowboys fan and they fired their coach, you better fire Mike McCarthy and go get Bill Belichick before the Eagles do.
You cannot fit those two egos in one roof.
Time out.
Cowboys Stadium ain't big enough to fit Jones and Belichick.
I am a Giants fan. I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see it happen.
Don't speak like things into existence.
But if I am Philly, and if I'm a Philly fan, right, it's about Super Bowls. I had a taste of the mountaintop.
Sure.
Right? What's the Eagles' biggest problem right now? Defense. What do they have on offense? Great talent.
Oh, yeah.
You put Bill Belichick with A.J. Brown.
And get McDaniels
right?
on that OC.
Again, I'd like to see a Kellen Moore. I'd like to see Eric Bieniemy. But sure, right?
Sure.
Josh McDaniel would be acceptable, right? But with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Goddard, with a Swift in the backfield, with Jalen Hurts leading the helm, and Bill Belichick cleaning up that defense, wow. Now, conversely, you put Bill Belichick with Dak, with Micah Parsons, right? With Stephon Gilmore that he already had, and you're going to throw Diggs in there at cornerback? Wow. Right? CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks. That's well, and they got that young tight end. So if I'm a Eagles or Dallas fan and I don't win a Super Bowl, right? I'm firing my coach and I'm going to go get Bill Belichick. But if I'm Atlanta, I don't like. I'm not ready for Bill. If I am Washington, if I'm Bill, do I want them? Do I want that story with a rookie quarterback? Now, again, you win a Super Bowl. You go to Washington, you win a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. You have cemented your legacy, and you're going to have another 15-year run with a young quarterback.
Sure.
Right now, can he go to the Chargers? The Chargers would fit. So to me, it's a situation like the Chargers, Dallas, or the Eagles are the three perfect arrangements for Bill Belichick that he should want.
So two of those I think are actually feasible. I think that the Eagles, if the Eagles were losing the Bucs this first round, I think all things are on the table in terms of what they do with their coaching staff. Because one thing's pretty clear, and I was about this thing, what does Nick Sirianni actually do? Like, what's his expertise? Like, what is he doing on whatever side of the ball? Because clearly, since Steichen, he's clearly
not the same guy.
He's not an offensive guy because since Steichen left, their offense looks like it lacks an identity. And don't even get me started. If you're the defensive guy, then you should be fired because the defense has been awful this year.
But remember, they moved on from Doug Peterson. So why
within a 4-year realm of when he won a Super Bowl?
And he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And Sirianni just went to one.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's about Super Bowls, right?
Sure.
Who's better than Bill Belichick?
Yep.
You're going to be in the playoffs every year, and literally from a defensive scheme, right? You're going to be running the best scheme in that division because the Giants just got rid of Wink Martindale.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's fair. I just can't see the Cowboys, and you and I talked about this kind of during the break and even the pre-show. I cannot see Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick working because Bill Belichick is all about the Patriot way, keeping things within the house, talking, and Jerry Jones just can't shut up. He can't do an interview fast enough before, during, and after a game.
Listen, I hear
Belichick's
just
not about that.
Here's the thing. The Cowboys don't have a GM.
It's fair.
Right? And if I am Jerry
Jones, a lot of times is the guy who makes the picks.
If I am Jerry Jones, right, I am closer to death than anything else, right? And what do you want? You want another ring. You want another ring. Suck up your pride. Go get Bill Belichick, right? And go win 1, maybe 2 Super Bowls. Because guess what? The can't get right Cowboys with Bill Belichick, completely changes the organization, right? The Jones family has proven they can draft talent across the board, offensively, defensively. What has Bill Belichick been failing to do? Bill Belichick, the GM, has been horrible. He drafted, if I'm not mistaken, 2 Pro Bowlers in a 20-year...
On offense.
Right,
drafting offensive players.
Right, on offensive players, right? He passed up on DK, passed up on A.J. Brown, passed up on way too many offensive talents. That's not going to happen with the Jones family. Right? You come in, Bill, take the control, let them buy the groceries, let them find the talent. They already have the talent. You go win the Super Bowl. And again, from a roster standpoint, if I'm Bill, I want that roster versus anyone else.
So I think what you're kind of getting more to, though, is the negotiating leverage. And this is why I think Bill Belichick is going to kind of have his pick of the litter to go, because I think teams are going to be heavily after him, especially depending on how the playoff race breaks down. I doubt Dallas gets into the mix, but we'll see. You never know. If they lose to Green Bay this weekend, I would say all bets are off. Anything is on the table.
If they don't win a Super Bowl and they don't go after him, it's.
But how do you, as Dallas, Philly might be a little bit different because they have won a Super Bowl, but if you're Dallas or you're Atlanta or you're Washington, who you are you are craving right now that Super Bowl, how do you sit there? Bring in the 6-time, arguably the greatest NFL coach in our history, 6-time Super Bowl champ. How do you bring him in and dictate the terms to him in terms of what he will and not be in control of?
Okay, remember, right? Remember my analogy, right? You're good at one thing, right? So stick to the one thing you're good at, right? Coach, lead, let me.
But these organizations are not good at a lot of things.
But the Cowboys have proven that they're good at picking talented players. Micah Parsons, CD Lamb.
You're really heavy on this Cowboy thing.
Listen, here's also how I think, right? Hypothetically, right? First of all, I said, if I'm an Eagles fan, I want them, right? So that's the first thing I said. But sometimes, you have to make sure your enemy doesn't get better than you. So getting Bill Belichick as a Cowboys fan is to prevent him from going to the Eagles. Because Cowboy fans, if Bill Belichick goes to the Eagles, your reign is done. the curse of not winning back-to-back
Talk about that,
division
man. We're
championships.
Giants fans, man.
Listen.
I don't want to see that.
Dayball's been doing his thing, so and we don't even have a quarterback, so I can't even put the Giants in the conversation, right? So but
I think Bill wants to go somewhere where they're set up to compete right now. Too. I don't think he wants to go and rebuild.
What roster in the NFL has more talent than the Dallas Cowboys?
Again, I agree with you on the talent side. I would say that if I was going to pick Bill Belichick to end up anywhere next year, you want to know my honest opinion?
Where are you going?
Chargers. You've got a young elite in terms of talent. We talked about this earlier, quarterback and Justin Herbert. You've got talent on the defensive side of the ball. You've got skill positions, okay? You're still going to have draft picks where you can go somewhere in that regard, but you have a team that's set up to compete right now. What are they missing?
So the two
head
things
coach
I'll
should just
tell
go
you.
and put it all together.
Two things that I'll tell you, right? One, that defense is aging, right?
It is.
Two, they have major cap issues.
But who better than to bring in the guy who is the master at drafting late round defensive talent?
Listen, I get that, right? But again, older roster, right? Keenan Allen has been injured. Mike Williams has been injured, right? So there's a lot going on there. Versus the Dallas roster, I think they're all under 27 years old.
They were young,
right?
Yeah, especially the
Gilmore is the
cornerstones.
oldest guy, right? And what are one of Dallas's worst issues right now? Linebackers. Bill Belichick is going to be able to clean that up super quickly, right? Bill Belichick's issue is that he can't identify great offensive talent, right? That whole I hate to say it, but that Dallas Cowboys roster is littered with offensive talent.
Could we agree on this though? If the Dallas Cowboys make the NFC Championship, it's a moot point, right? I don't think they're getting rid of McCarthy if they make the NFC Championship.
They better, right? Again. So, okay, this goes back to the time.
Because apparently now in Dallas, that's what's celebrated, making the NFC Championship.
It goes back to, I can tell you, Stephen A.
Was that a dig? Was that a dig?
If Bill Belichick was to go to the Dallas Cowboys, Stephen A. Smith would cry. Because he knows there would be a Super Bowl near in that future, okay? But look at what Tom Brady did, right? You know, when he was a free agent, not a lot of teams went after him. And guess what? They were wrong. Right, and then he ended up going to the Bucs, and they won a Super Bowl. Right, so all of a sudden, so I think because of that narrative, things are going to change a little bit. So I do think if I am a better team, I have to truly ask myself: the coach that I have, are they better than Bill Belichick? Right, and off the top of the head, I only have about two coaches that I could say: Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin. Right, those two coaches are the two that are off the top of my head. I would argue.
I'll give you Reid. I don't know about Tomlin. I'm not sure if I could agree with Tomlin right now, but yeah.
Listen, it never had a losing season. Granted, he only has one championship, but that's fair, right? So, and mind you, most of the times that he's lost, who did he lose to? Bill Belichick. Right? So
that's kind of a feather in Belichick's cap.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. Fair, right? Sure. But younger, so on and so forth. We can talk about all those details later. But listen, again, so if I'm Jerry Jones, what do I want? I want the Super Bowl. So you go get Bill. Yeah. You messed up with Parcells, right? You messed up with Jimmy Johnson. You were cursed for all these years. You finally put him in the Ring of Honor, right? Make it right. You go get Bill, and you go get the chip.